Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 news. After 10 years in charge of Haas's Formula 1 project and becoming in the most recent years one of the most popular figures in the sport, Guenther Steiner has been ousted from his role as team principal at Haas with immediate effect. A shock move coming just a few weeks before the start of the season. Rumour has it that behind the scenes, massive disagreements between Steiner and the owner in Gene Haas in terms of the future of this team. Rumour even has it that Steiner was requesting more funding, more investment, more resources to try and make the team more competitive, and Gene Haas himself was not so happy about that idea. Very much on Twitter, your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. This all really began with Simone Resta, their technical director, earlier on today, but it comes at a very interesting time because just a few days ago, Guenther Steiner was very much in the public eye, talking all sorts of stuff, saying how, you know, if they had a Red Bull, their drivers are good enough to compete, talking about the future of the organisation and the future of the team, saying that, look, now they will start to consider rookies more so nowadays, looking at Oliver Behrman, what his future might be. So, you know, it all seems over just the last few days that Steiner and Haas were a partnership that was set to continue. Now, you've got to say, given the record of Haas with rookies and just given Haas's performance over the last few years, it maybe isn't a massive surprise that Steiner's role as the head of this project is very much under scrutiny. But the reasons behind why he's basically been fired, especially when Simone Resta leaving at the same time, very interesting indeed. He also said just the other day that they can't afford to sacrifice the next 2 years for 2026, intending that, you know, they're looking to plow on, looking to pile in the resources and try and actually develop a competitive car. And honestly, what does this say about the competitiveness of Haas's project for 2024? I'm not expecting it to be particularly good, but Steiner was saying in the media just a couple of days ago that they need to ensure they've got the resources, got the investment, and are fully focusing on the car for the next couple of years. Maybe Gene Haas had a rather different idea as to how it should be done, but this was the first bombshell of the day. Technical director Simone Resta, formerly a Ferrari man, joined Haas not that long ago really at all. I think he only joined them maybe 18 months ago, something like that. I'm not exactly sure on the dates, but according to Motorsport Italy, he'd left, and apparently it was a massive blow behind the scenes. According to the article, after an argument with team owner Gene Haas, he left. So, you know, I'm not sure I buy the idea that this is just Gene Haas having enough of the poor performances and therefore getting rid of the team. It feels like this kind of goes both ways, where we've seen Resta, we've seen potentially Steiner behind the scenes try and talk about what they need to become more competitive, and then they get fired. It's basically what happened at Alpine, right, with Otmar. He went, you know, he was like, look guys, with this level of resources and commitment, we're not really going to be able to achieve this 5-year plan to wins like you want, 3-year plan to wins, whatever. Guess what? He gets the boot. And we've potentially even seen the same thing going on at the FIA lately. All sorts of internal drama going down there behind the scenes, with some of their employees saying, well, we're trying to do this, you guys aren't giving me the resources, we can't execute what we want to, so they either leave or get the boot effectively. So this is what the article went on to say, that technical director Resta has left due to disagreements with owner Gene Haas, and well, it's kind of funny how this happened only a few hours before the real big though story of the day. Okay, Resta joined Haas from Ferrari in 2021, so he's been there like 3 years now, but so longer than I thought, but still, I mean, he hasn't been there forever, let's say. Results have not been good. He apparently discussed the plans of the team with owner Gene Haas, but was left unsatisfied and as a result has walked out on the Haas team. And well, Haas potentially asked for comment on this one. And then there was even discussions on motorsport.com that said Resta no longer found the motivation in Haas. Not exactly sure that I blame him, and had disagreements early in 2023 when he was eager to spend the development budget on the first version of the VF23, which is very interesting because we know that there was lots of well, friction maybe, especially behind the scenes, when they brought that upgrade in Austin Haas this year, and the new car was basically slower than the old one, if not basically the same speed. And that was the only upgrade they did. Even Steiner himself admitted they put all of their time into trying to find upgrades. They simply couldn't find any more performance in the car. So pretty embarrassing really, and I imagine that that moment was quite possibly a defining one in how Gene Haas has decided to run the team going forwards. Maybe that was Steiner's chance, or even Resta's chance, to deliver something worthwhile, and because it hasn't happened, they're getting the boot. But they're getting the boot now. You know, they could have been fired a while ago, but no, it's happening now, possibly because Steiner's contract has just ended, so they've decided not to renew it. But with Resta, this sounds like an argument, sounds like a disagreement, very interesting stuff. And maybe Resta wanted to work more so on that first version of last year's car rather than the updated version they went on. Maybe there was more performance to be found in the first version with iterations rather than trying to do a revolution. It's difficult exactly to say. But shortly after this pretty bombshell announcement, really, we then heard rumours going around that actually this was not going to be the only Haas departure today. Even Thomas Maher says here from Planet F1, big F1 departures and appointments being made today, stay tuned. So clearly there was something coming, the media had been informed, and there was an embargo basically until everything was going to come public. And then we heard what this might potentially be as to unverified rumours going around that Steiner has also left the Haas team, and this is going to be published at 9 AM Pacific, which is exactly the time they ended up publishing it, especially when, just as they were preparing this announcement, Haas, you could go onto their website and see under team, it only listed Pietro Fittipaldi, but then their two drivers, Hülkenberg and Magnussen, and then Gene Haas. Guenther Steiner was obviously here. You know, he's the face of the team, there's no doubt. What he's, you know, the person he's been for Drive to Survive, I'm sure that Netflix and Drive to Survive won't be so happy that Steiner will not be a part of it at Haas, maybe elsewhere, but maybe that's somewhat doubtful, at least for the time being. So this is what it looks like, right? Gene Haas, Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hülkenberg, Pietro Fittipaldi. If I just go for the quick refresh on this, we'll discuss our man Komatsu here in a second, but it still remains true that on the team, there's no Steiner, nothing like that, and then people even found that if you look up the address where it used to be, it now says that it's like some unreachable page, and people even found on the Wayback Machine that on December the 2nd, this page very much existed. So it wasn't just like, oh, he actually never had a page, and it was just, wow, that's a bit of a strange one. No, he did have a page, it was there, and people were realizing, hang on a second, his page has been removed from the website. So this can only mean one thing, and it was confirmed shortly afterwards what the repercussions of that have actually turned out to be. Of course, there were questions then, with Steiner looking to be gone for whatever reason. We'll discuss the actual reasons, apparently, at least in a second. Who's going to come in instead? Even this from Tom, I thought was kind of cool, where he put together this for a video next week on, look, it's time for Steiner to go. You know, obviously talking about Otmar as well. Either Otmar should come in, or a similar situation that Otmar had at Alpine, and some parallels, as we mentioned, between the two relationships. But, you know, this was the Formula 1 graphic they did just the other day on the team lineups. You know, here's Steiner. Pretty rare that these type of changes happen now. If they're going to happen, it's usually like, okay, the team principal, their runners come to an end at the end of the season, and then they step away at the end of the calendar year, or, you know, I mean, maybe this is at the end of the calendar year, kind of, but usually it'd be like, okay, the final race happens, they wave goodbye, the new guy comes in and rights the ship over the off-season. But Steiner's still been there for another, you know, good few weeks. It's 6 weeks since the end of the season or whatever, another 6 weeks at the start of the new season. Far from the optimal time for this to happen, which kind of implies some sort of argument, disagreement, where things have really gone downhill very rapidly indeed. And then this is confirmed officially by Haas. MoneyGram, Haas F1 Team has appointed Ayao Komatsu as its new team principal, with Guenther Steiner departing the organisation with immediate effect. You guys might have seen this guy's face. He's, I believe, formerly the trackside engineering director, and he's going to step up to do the big role. But yeah, kind of crazy stuff, right? Guenther Steiner, in some sense, founded this team, been around it for like a decade, and has obviously been a massive face of the sport in many ways over the last several years. He's officially gone from the organisation, and who knows what his next step is going to be in Formula 1 as a whole. No statement from Steiner yet, at least as a recording. We might see something over the coming days. This, though, is what Haas have to say. So they announced this. MoneyGram Haas F1 Team appoints Komatsu as new team principal, which is, you know, maybe it's not surprising they've promoted this guy, but it definitely smells like this is kind of not exactly a last-minute decision, but if they were going to have somebody lined up, then you'd have thought it might have been maybe someone else from outside the organisation. But the fact that they basically get rid of Steiner, and then their top guy, trackside engineering director from within the organisation, who's got lots of experience in F1, steps up, kind of sounds like Steiner's just been fired, and it's like, okay, who else do we have around the office here we can promote? Okay, this guy, let's get him up. So that's kind of how it seems to be. You guys might disagree on that one. But yeah, so he was director of engineering, been with the team since 2016, starting as a chief race engineer. But yeah, so this is what Haas have to say, which does differ somewhat to what the rumours are about exactly why this might have happened. So yeah, they confirmed that Haas will, or Steiner will, leave with immediate effect. I kind of wish that Haas would just sell the team with immediate effect, to be honest. But as Gene Haas goes on to say, I'd like to start by extending my thanks to Steiner for all his hard work over the years. But this is the interesting part. Moving forward as an organisation, it was clear we need to improve our on-track performances. In appointing Komatsu as team principal, we fundamentally have engineering at the heart of our management. So it sounds good on paper. What's the reality of the situation? But to be fair to Gene Haas, despite the fact that he gets a lot of stick, and I think for good reason, on the way that he manages the organisation, Steiner didn't really deliver results, did he? Like this last year was embarrassing, really. The race pace especially couldn't fix their problems. someone's head was probably going to have to roll, and in this case it seems like it's going to be Steiner's. Not like they didn't have bad seasons before, they did, but clearly there was some disagreements happening, and it's all resulted in Steiner getting the boot. So Gene Haas goes on to say, we've had some successes, but we need to be consistent in delivering results. We need to be efficient with the resources we have, but improving our design and engineering capability is key to our success. So Ayao is going to be able to deliver the results on that. It truly reflects my desire to compete properly in Formula 1. So he's saying Steiner was herding us back, right? And in order to compete properly, we need to get rid of him and go forward. Of course, there's further comments, but that's basically what they have to say. Now, Autosport, their read of it is somewhat different. They describe how his contract was up for renewal at the end of the year and the team owner, Gene Haas, decided not to extend it. And this follows Simone Resta, what we of course saw earlier in the video. But this is the interesting part. Steiner, who formulated the plan for an F1 team using Ferrari technology and then sourced the funding from machine tools manufacturer Haas with which to start it, appears to have paid the price for last year's poor performance. It has been no secret that at times there's been tension between Steiner and Haas. We've seen a fair few of it on the phone during various episodes of Drive to Survive, but of course Steiner, without Steiner, this project basically doesn't exist. And there were differences in opinion in the camp about the direction to take, the technical direction to take, with the split of old and new aero packages seen in the last two races of 2023, an obvious public sign of the diverging views, right? We saw that, I think Hülkenberg went back to the old spec and Magnussen kept the new spec. It was not a great sign, really. In essence, though, this is the real bombshell, I think. Steiner was asking for more investment in an effort to keep up with rivals who are spending heavily on updated factory infrastructure, while Haas wanted to focus on making more efficient use of the resources that his team already has at its disposal. Because we know that teams such as Williams, they've got the investment in from Doralton, they seem to be making progress. Aston Martin, for example, they were terrible in 2022, but they're putting big money into this Silverstone factory. So if Haas actually want to take this seriously, and let's be honest, AlphaTauri as well, they're moving from Faenza mostly to Milton Keynes to sit next to Red Bull and use all the Red Bull parts. Like, good luck Haas competing with the, Williams are trying to make progress. They're obviously talking, James Vowles, for example, has been discussing with the other TPs and has actually been successful at this to change up the infrastructure investment that teams can make. So the capital expenditure investments doesn't necessarily fall within the category of the cost cap, because if it did, and to be fair, it kind of used to until they made recent changes, let's say you're Mercedes, you've got a massive factory or whatever. Williams, if they want to invest in a massive factory, that's going to take away from the cost cap for the current car. So to resolve that, James Vowles has pushed for and has been successful in changing the rules so that Williams and AlphaTauri and the teams at the bottom can invest more in infrastructure so they can actually theoretically catch up over time. Haas, though, apparently don't want to do this. And Steiner's been saying to Gene, like, look, if you actually want to take this seriously and we actually want to do something good in this sport, then, we've got to invest. And if you don't invest, then we're not going to go anywhere. Sure, we can use the resources more efficiently. And to be fair, Gene Haas said that in the article, didn't he? I mean, he said that in what they said here, that their intention is to be more efficient. What was it? Somewhere down here anyway, that their intention is to maximize our potential and be efficient with the resources we have, but improving our design and engineering is obviously a key to success. So it's the same thing that Autosport are saying, but apparently Steiner's point of view is like, okay, sure, efficiency of resources, fine, but what about more resources? Like, can we do that? Apparently the answer to that question was an absolute no. So as far as I'm concerned, it's time for Haas to get out of here. Like, I would like to see, just sell to Andretti, can we not just sell to Andretti? Would that not just be a win-win for everybody involved? I don't know, feel bad for Steiner because massive part of this project for a decade, and now he's been ousted. Am I massively surprised after last season's results? I still think it's a shock, but I can kind of see where it's come from. Is Haas going to all of a sudden turn around and be a great team this year? No. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about that as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I feel bad in a way for Magnussen and for Hülkenberg. They've got to drive the car this season, because to get rid of him now, like several weeks after the end of the season, several weeks before the start of the new season, doesn't make me confident that whatever's going on behind the scenes of that factory is any good. Because clearly Steiner is saying, look, this is not really working here. We need more money. We need more investment. We need more infrastructure, or we're just going to be perennially in 10th place. So it doesn't fill me with confidence that whatever they turn up with in Bahrain is going to be any good. It's probably not going to be. So 2022, they had a pretty good car at the start of the season. They still only managed to finish 8th, I believe. This was these are their records in the World Championship over the last few years. 2018, of course, they actually pulled a masterclass, right? They finished 5th in the Constructors that year. 8th, 8th, 5th, 9th, 9th. And over the last couple of years, it's been embarrassing. I mean, 2021, we don't want to talk about that. 2022, they finished 8th after a great start to the season, but this year they were back to last place. So I wonder what could be next here, right? As Martin Brundle quite, astutely mentions that in that press release, of course, Steiner made no comment, right? He was not asked for comment. He did not say, thank you, Mr. Gene Haas, for all your great support in the organization, and this is a mutually agreed departure. It's like, no, clearly Steiner didn't want to get fired, but that's what's happened, right? I think we can relatively safely assume it, as Brundle says, when the departing person is not quoted in the press release, there is definitely friction. I suspect we will hear more about this. The team hasn't exactly progressed in recent seasons, but hard to know exactly what's gone on the inside. Good luck to Guenther and to Haas, and I definitely, agree with that, although I'm not sure I really extend particularly good luck to Haas, because I'd quite like them just to sell the team, but I think I've made that clear in the past. The quite remarkable thing about this whole saga is that this therefore means that Mike Crack, and now you guys might, obviously Mike Crack's been around for a couple of years now at Aston Martin, but the fact of the matter is that he now remains the 3rd longest serving team principal. Basically, 2 years ago, this week, he was appointed as Aston Martin new TP, and he's now the 3rd longest serving, behind, of course, Toto Wolff and Mr. Christian Horner, right? That's actually kind of insane. But all the other guys on the grid here, of course, Stella, Vowles, Aluni Bravi, who's kind of not really team principal, but he's team representative, or whatever they say over there at Alfa Romeo. They're just biding their time until Seidel, I think, comes back and basically does that. Of course, Lauren McKee's leaving Ferrari to go to AlphaTauri, and, Bruno Ferman, who's come into Alpine. Fred Vasseur's not been there long either. And now Steiner's gone. It's like, wow, what an absolute mess, right? So there's been lots of, chaos, let's say, in various organizations in recent times, but this is one more example. So I'm sure we'll get updates over the coming days. Massively intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.